Hi, everybody. Lex Gray here. Welcome back to another episode. In this one, I'm going to be talking about my latest revision to my Havoc system that is called Target 5. This is a working title. Feel free to let me know what you think. There's a reason why I chose Target 5. Part of it's because Havoc is obviously the combined word that spells out the cores from my previous revision, or I should say previous edition. The attributes essentially are hardy, agility, valor, optics, and craft. So havoc spells out havoc. But this one is target 5 because in this game, 5 is a prominent number, and it is the target number to roll at. So what we'll do, we'll create a character with my new updated rules. I'll tell you how the game works. And then we'll do a little test. I'll show you how the game works, how you roll dice, dealing with threats, and so on and so forth. So, character creation is very quick. You fill out your personal details. So you have your character name, their appearance, which could be their physical appearance, gender, pronouns, race, etc. Origin is your backstory, background. Your focus is your profession or class from an OSR standpoint. You start with usually 3 effort points. Think of it as fate points in comparison. Your reserve starts at 5. You can circle it, or you can use what I like to use is our poker chips. These green ones here will represent our reserve. Reserve is everything your character is: their health, their mental condition, their physical condition, their effort, etc. Then we have the attack. This is new. Actually, both of these are new. So the attack is going to be your starting weapon or a physical advantage or power that is used for attacking. Defense is your either armor or, again, a physical advantage or power. These can be variable. Typically, a light weapon or a light armor is 1d plus 1d. Heavy weapons, heavy armor are plus 2d. Then you get to create one starting perk. This whole section here is for perks. Perks are from the prior editions. You have specialized talents, unique traits, skills, things you're good at, basically. Traits that give you a advantage in your character's life. So let's make a character. I'll call him Sir Copyright of Infringe. Let's do Infringe. There we go. Sir Copyright of Infringe. Then we have appearance. Let's say he is tall, thin, black hair. Maybe he's older. There we go. Oh, gender pronoun. We can just put, we'll say he is a male. Let's see, race. Probably he's a human. Just to keep it simple. Just kind of stuffing all of this in here. I probably should have left a little more room, but whatever. That's going to be it for now. Okay, so we have a tall, thin, black hair, male, older human. Origin, let's just say he's an orphan. Focus, his profession, his class, essentially, let's say he's a fighter. I always like to do the fighter. It's the easiest example. Reserve is 5. Weapon, his attack, we'll give him a starting weapon, nothing overkill. Or will he be overkill? Let's use this Warhammer figure. This guy will be our Sir Copyright of Infringe. He has 2 weapons, so we'll give him, I'll choose, let's see, that's a hell of a gun right there. It's a Gallic gun. Let's say it's a rail gun. So he'll have 2. I'll give him 2. Railgun is 2D. His sword is going to be for close combat. We'll give him 1D plus 2D plus 1D. Breaking the rules here, usually I have just 1. His armor, it's just his suit of armor here. It's his Space Marine looking suit of armor. So we'll say Space Marine, which could be a mix of plot armor and the actual physical armor. We'll say it's plus 2D because it is a heavy piece of armor. Create one perk. Let's say his first perk is going to be, hmm, perhaps he is a boss or a leader, a captain. Perhaps he's a captain of himself. Because it's just him right now. The only figure I have to use at the moment. Most of my other figures from our marathon of wargaming in my earlier a month ago or so is back in storage. So this is my only one I have nearby. So he's captain of himself. And then that'll be our first perk. So that is it for the character sheet for the character creation process, or I like to call it the avatar. But character for people familiar with that term in RPGs. So we'll put him here. He's just enjoying himself, having a nice little walk, stroll through the park here. He's got his 5 reserve. He's got his 3 effort points, which can be used, and we'll mention how. Suddenly, he's approached by 2 Necrons, and thus we are in combat or something similar. Well, in my game Target 5, you can roll up to 5 dice. Here's how it works. So this is called the target roll. Used to call it the Havoc roll. Obviously, I changed branding, so now it's the target roll. Again, feel free to mention your thoughts on that. I am willing to change titles. It's not a problem. This is a quick little print on this note card. So target roll is used for risky actions. When the outcome is uncertain, like with skill checks in D&D, you roll some dice. Now my game is a dice pool game. You prepare, which is your first die. This is a 1D. That's for attempting the task at hand. Then you create a dice pool based on these potentials. Plus 1D if the action's relevant to your origin or focus. It cannot be both. Well, he is trying to attack these 2 goons right here. I think this is related to his focus. That's another D6 or 1D, because in my game it's all D6s. If you're attacking, you get to roll the extra dice with your attack. Well, he's rather close. He's not far, so we're going to use his sword. That's another D. Remember, we also have the railgun, which is a 2D. So we're sticking with the sword. If any perk applies, you can also roll your perk. And we're going to use a captain of himself because he is his own boss. He makes his own schedule. He has his own 401k, dental insurance, medical, etc. And that is really it. Now, we have this extra D on the side here. I'm thinking, how else can I add? Because right now our reserve is at 5, so he can essentially roll up to 5 dice. Now there is difficulty in my game. For easy, the target number gets lowered to 4. For hard, it's 6. 5 is usually the target number. So like in Savage Worlds, which obviously my game is slightly inspired by, you have your target number 4, but the modifiers apply to your dice roll uh, instead of adjusting the target number. Mine, the target number gets adjusted. So it's kind of an oxymoron with my title of the game here. I'm not if I'm using that term correctly. Um, when you roll your dice, you want the highest roll to be 5 or more, or a target number or more, to be successful. Otherwise, it fails. So these 2 guys here, there's 2 Necrons. I'm going to say this is normal difficulty. So it is going to stay at 5. You can use your effort points. Let's talk about effort points. That's everything for rolling your dice. So let's not use effort just yet. I'll explain that in a second. Let's just roll dice. We want to get 5 or more. And there it is. 5 is a success. He's able to deal with at least one of these guys. Now, threats have now we're going to talk about dealing damage. He's attacking one of these Necrons. I say he's attacking this guy here, approaches him first. A combat in my game is fairly narrative, fairly simple. There's no turn-based system, etc. You could have it be turn-based, or like in Tunnel Controls, you can do a full group roll and see who exceeds in the roll. Mine is kind of narrative, so I'm talking about this guy is going to attack. Sir Copyright of Infringe is going to attack this Necron who approaches him first, and we succeeded in the roll, so he attacks him. Now, easy threats have 2 reserve. Hard threats have 5, like your character does, like your avatar. So he's going to take 1 damage, which is essentially reducing him to 1 reserve. Once that chip underneath him gets up to 2, the guy's out. So there is no stun, there's no shaking in my game. It's just straight hit, total, you're out. Okay, so he hit it. Now, what we could have done, effort has a few mechanics in here. Has a few additions. You can re-roll any failed 1D roll per point, one-to-one system, a one-to-one basis. So if none of these exceeded 5, I could have spent an effort point to re-roll any dice I choose. So I would have failed in that roll. It has to be that target number or more. Debating if I can make it re-roll the whole pool. Let me know what you guys think about that, if that's fair, if it's overkill, etc. You can also uh, gain a effort point if you roll 2 6s or more. And if you have a great role-playing moment, like this guy jumps over here, does a backflip, and cracks his head, and he's dead. Stuff like that. Or a very emotional scene, or make the whole table laugh, etc. If you can also spend an effort point to add an extra d6 exceeding your reserve cap. So that extra d6, if you're at 5 or 4, whatever your reserve is at, or you're down to your very last reserve and you have an effort point, you can spend an effort point to add a d6 out of nowhere onto that dice pool. So now the Necron is going to attack our character, Sir Copyright of Infringe. Now, the Necrons, all they do is roll up to their reserve. So he is, I'm sorry, my apologies. This game is player facing. The GM or the guide does not roll dice. You roll to defend. So again, my apologies. I kind of jumped the gun there. Now we're defending. So let's make our pool. We have one die. Okay, so he's walking up here. He's going to bash us in the face. He's going to bitch slap us. So we have 1D here for the general effort. That is your attempt die. We're going to include anything from our origin or focus. Well, fighter, that's relevant, I think. Then our third die will be for defending, which we have Space Marine armor, so that's 2 dice. Trying to get these in actual numbered order there. Okay, now, anything else? Is there a perk that works here? Captain of himself? Maybe. I'm going to say let's just stick with the 4 for now. So, we need to roll 5 or more, because again, these guys here are a normal difficulty. Roll some dice. Look at that. We have a bunch of rolls here. Now, in my game, like I said, 6s or more, or 2 or more 6s is an extra effort point. We were close, but we did succeed in the action. Even if this was a hard difficulty, we still succeeded with this d6. That's the number that matters. So, we reduce the guy down to a pile of recycling, and he is defeated. So, this guy is gone. Okay, so we defended. Now it's going to be uh, that Necron's been defeated, so narratively, this other Necron is going to attack. He's about to, but perhaps our character has a chance to fight back. So we're at a slight distance here. We're going to back up and use our railgun to shoot at this remaining Necron. Okay, like I said, the first die for the attempt. We're a fighter. Well, actually, a fighter, I would say, is more relevant for melee. So let's change that up and ignore that. We're going to add 2 dice for the weapon itself. There we go. And that's it. So here we go. He's going to shoot. This is normal difficulty, 5 or more. And the 6, obviously, is what succeeds once again. So he's able to shoot this guy, and that's going to hurt him. So now he has 1 hit. Okay, now it's his turn, essentially, if I, again, considering this turn-based, which kind of is. Still working on combat. This, like I said, this game is always a work in progress. He's going to shoot his gun. He's not going to bitch slap him. He's going to shoot him in the face from, what, 5, 10, 15 feet away. So we're going to defend. There's our first die. Our defend is the armor. That's really it. So here we go. We're defend. And we succeeded with that 5. So we're able to block, or the shot bounces off our armor. Now, let's experiment here. Let's say, let's reset the board here. And let's say that our guy will reset our effort points. We had a long campaign. We're down to our very last reserve. He's He's on the brink of death. And again, he loves strolling through this park here. So suddenly, another group of Necrons appear, and but this time they are back to back. Now, no, let's say he gets surrounded. So he's in the park. Suddenly, these two guys, they're going to rob him of his money or of his space credits. So what do we do here? How to resolve this? Well, we're down to one reserve now. We can only roll one dice. This is going to be bad. Okay, these guys are still normal difficulty, still normals, which is 5, but the difficulty applies narratively to your reserve. So down to one reserve really makes you roll tight. You only can really only do is your single die. So we're rolling we're rolling against them shooting at us from both sides. So here we go. We needed 5 or more. That's a fail, but we can spend the reserve. We can spend a effort beforehand to roll an extra d6. So let's roll 2, and that's a fail. Let's spend another effort to re-roll one of those dice. That's a fail. So he takes damage. Thus, we lose our last reserve. He's incapacitated. He has to be saved by an ally or some magic, some narrative moment applies where a giant dragon comes in, picks up these Necrons and eats them alive and leaves our character because he does not like to eat metal. But if our character had 2 reserve, and the same thing happened, nothing changed, we have our 2 effort points here, well, we can roll 2 dice. The first die for general effort, and maybe part of our armor, defense. Maybe our defense is damaged. So we roll 2 dice. Look at that, dual 5s. Now, let me know in the comments below if you think dual succeeding rolls or more, so 2 or more successes, gives you an extra effort point. Let me know what you think. Now, I cap effort at 3. Generally, I do. But perhaps let's modify, let's make a little house ruling moment here. Let's say that gives us an extra effort point. So now we broke the rules and we have 4 effort. So he succeeded. Now, what he's going to try to do is spin here and shoot this Necron. So he still has 2 reserves, but he has the 4 effort points. We're going to roll 2 dice, so the attempt itself and his railgun, but his reserve is capped. We can spend an effort point to roll a 3rd die, breaking the reserve rule. Look at that, we failed. Okay, so let's break the rules again. Let's spend an effort point to re-roll the whole pool. We still lost again. Okay, let's say the shot missed. All right, this guy is going to shoot him in the back. Now, this is disadvantage. Okay, our back is turned. In wargaming, you typically don't worry about it, but in this RPG, I'm going to consider it. Okay, so now where this roll is kind of for our armor, so we're attempting to block it. We have our armor here, which is 2 dice total. We still have 2 effort, but disadvantage. This increases the number. This is a hard difficulty, so increasing it. Essentially, advantage is what I call easy. Disadvantage is hard. So this increases the target number to 6. We have to roll a 6 or more. That's a fail. We take a shot. I could spend a reserve to re-roll. Let's try it again. Let's get that reserve on standby. Spend an effort point and re-roll the whole pool. 6. We got a 6. Okay, so we block it. He spins around. He's going to run up and try to slice. Now, that's a lot of actions. I don't have a restriction on the actions. That's really debated between the guide and the player. But I say that's a hard difficulty because he's going to turn around. We have this guy here. We're going to shoot or try to slice off this Necron's head. Give him a little extra shave. So that's going to be hard. We still want a 6. So extra effort, and a sword is technically 1 dice. And let's spend our last effort point to include an extra d6. Here we go. Oh, that was terrible. The sword misses, and the Necron's going to get a hit in, so we're going to attempt a defend. and this guy's shooting. So it's going to be hard because now we're surrounded. We're still surrounded. So this guy's shooting. This guy's going to get like a pistol whip to the face, or I guess a laser gun blast to the face. So extra, we have the initial attempt, and we have the dice for just defending. So here we go. 6 was our target number. Difficulty, we actually blocked. So we managed to jump out of the way. They shoot each other. Maybe they both can get hurt. Let's just have a little fun with that. They get hurt like that. Okay. So that is essentially how the game works. Now, to close this off, because I'm curious what happens here, uh, Start Copyright of Infringe is going to shoot both of these guys at once. That's a hard difficulty. So we're going to roll. He's locked in at 2 reserve. We don't have any more stamina. Sorry, effort left. So we're rolling 2 dice. That's a fail. He cannot shoot them. So they're going to shoot back. But I'd say he's probably going to. Let's roll for defend here. Can he survive? 2 dice at best. He cannot. He takes another injury. And now he's going to probably run away. Maybe. So can he flee? This is another roll. 2 dice. Let's see. What do we can have only 1 roll here. I might have messed up right there. Um, Survival, maybe? Orphan, fleeing. Well, it's just the attempt itself. It doesn't matter. And it's a fail. So our character is destroyed. So that is the basics of target roll and some loosey-goosey combat rules. I don't really have a combat section just yet in full, but threats essentially is part of that. Now, there is recovery, which is essentially take a short rest and get a full recovery. Obviously, if you have a perk, you can also recover if your character naturally heals or has some kind of mutation that can allow them heal or supernatural ability, etc. But if you follow this 0 reserve, like I said, you're going to get incapacitated. Your character cannot do any rolling. He has to be rescued. Now, there is an advancement in my game. You can add another perk. Cap is 5. And let me type that in here. I forgot to put that in here. Let's see. Cap is 5. And then there we go. Then you can also modify an existing perk. You can change a perk if narratively, if your character changes skill sets or something like that, changes whatever narrative mechanic changes, you can update a perk, and that's really it. So also considering having a increase in your effort, so maybe it can be capped at 5. Maybe let me know what you guys think. But essentially, that's how my game works. It's a simple one-page RPG. It's very quick, very heavy on narrative. I'm still a fan of. I didn't really show it here, but essentially in Tunnels and Trolls, which I was obsessing with the past month or so, it was a pull dice system for combat. So you roll your 2 pull dice. So let's say our character is back to 5, 5 reserve. He's healthy, good to go. These guys are fresh out of the microwave, and let's say their reserve is 2 dice. That's the difficulty, 2 dice. And our character he's the attempt, he's a fighter, he has his rail gun, and he's a captain himself. So 5 dice. So we roll 5 dice. So he rolled a 6. These guys roll. He loses. Maybe it can be the total that's considered. So 4, 4 compared to our whole number here. I might consider that as combat. Again, still work in progress. Let me know what you think about this method of combat. But then it defeats the purpose of defense. We're not rolling defense. So defense would have to be a fixed value. Again, I'm kind of stealing from Tunnels and Trolls, where your armor is a fixed value, similar to Karen, where everyone just attacks, and your armor negates damage. So I just don't really know about this if it works in my system, because then it's a kind of a whole different mechanic. I want the target roll to be one encompassing universal mechanic that resolves everything. If you guys are familiar with World of Dungeons, which is a one-page version of Dungeon World, it has that one resolve mechanic for everything. There is no like clear definition of combat. You're just kind of assuming you kind of house roll it on the go. So let me know what you guys think of that potential. But otherwise, that's really it. Um, Feel free to list your opinions below. Welcome to hear them all. And as always, please subscribe, like, share, comment, share, etc. I really appreciate all of your guys' viewership and engagement. And as always, I will see you next time. Thank you for watching.